Hello there. Just quickly jumping on. Bit of a late night one. I was preparing another video. I'm going to delay that to next week because Level Up Observer has actually watched the 50-minute International Space Station video. Well, I say he's watched it. He says he has, but there's something wrong with the timeline of the things he mentions. He mentions a part of 44 minutes, but then he says he's only watched 50 minutes of footage. It's a little bit odd.
Now the second cut that shouldn't have been there is about the 42-minute 22-second mark. And do you know what? I haven't even seen all the footage. I've only seen 15 minutes of it.
If you could attribute anything to Level Up Observer, it's a masterclass in cherry picking. Even though it's a 50-minute video, he's mentioned the cut.
Now first of all, this undebunkable 50-minute tour was cited as having no cuts whatsoever originally. But when you look at it, it's got several obvious cuts, at the very least. The first one at about the 28-minute mark, which I'm going to highlight here. Matey boy can see they're not ready for the next bit of stage work.
All right.
And we're going to have a cut.
There are actually two cuts, and I hold my hands up. I missed one, but the big main cut in the middle before this astronaut Steve goes into the cupola, he says he's not going to yet because it's too dark.
So again, the only place we have anything though right now is Nadir, and Nadir down here we have is a cupola. And right now, unfortunately, it's dark out, so maybe we'll take a look at that a little bit later.
He very clearly says that. Level Earth Observer mentions the cut as if they're trying to hide something. It was pre-announced, which means he hasn't watched it, or he hasn't watched it properly. So aside from the two cuts, which again I missed, he bangs on about one tiny section where the astronaut is going through an O-ring, separating two sections, and because of the slightly low resolution where he's zoomed in, the material he's touching makes it looks like his fingertips are disappearing into the metal. He bangs on about that repeatedly, as if it's the only thing he's got to cling on to. Apart from that, he cuts to a pre-recorded bit from Dave McKeegan, who's talking about low resolution video and how it explains artifacts and things disappearing and what have you. That doesn't apply to this video. It's not low resolution, as I mentioned before. He zoomed into a small section of the screen to basically enhance this supposed illusion, and he goes on about it over and over again, so it's really quite tiresome. He thinks he's debunked the footage. He's cherry-picked two moments and spoken about low resolution footage, which this isn't. He's had no mention of the fact that the astronaut is weightless for 50 minutes, no mention that all of the items around, no mention of the cupola sequence, which I was quite disappointed about, hardly any mention at all, but he does mention green screen, he does mention harnesses, he does mention augmented reality, and I really regret not putting that on the bingo cards I made up on Friday. So there we go. He claims to have watched the International Space Station video. He hasn't. He skimmed through it, cherry-picked some elements, misquoted Dave McKeegan, taking what he said out of context when applied to this video, and he's ballsed it up, as expected. So I stand by my previous statement. When reality reared his ugly head, he bravely turned his tail and fled. I do not regret doing that, but I haven't watched it back that often. But thank you for the acceptance. I really do appreciate it. So there, a very quick one I popped on this evening just to say, yeah, he has watched it. I'm not going to link it, but you know where to find it. Go and have a watch. It's laughably pathetic, as we expected it would be. He's got nothing, let's face it. All he has is personal incredulity. He calls himself a demonstrable realist and insists that everybody calls him that, even though he is a flat earther. There's absolutely no bones about it. Yeah, he's got nothing. He's got these three little silly fundamentals that even he probably doesn't even understand anymore. And when asked to actually put his money where his mouth is, he can't, and just makes stuff up as he goes along, as per usual. He hasn't demonstrated anything. He hasn't provided any evidence to say that any part of the 50-minute video is like a Hollywood production or a stage production, and he hasn't provided any evidence whatsoever apart from his own unintelligent and uninformed and uneducated opinions, which is all he's ever had anyway. Dan, if you're watching this, it's gone exactly as we expected, really. It's quite heartbreaking to think that he hasn't actually watched the video we put together, because he mentions most of the things we said he would. That's how predictable he is. Thanks very much for watching. More stuff next weekend. Hopefully I'll have a bit more editing time. I was working yesterday, so didn't get a lot of free time to do my stuff. Yeah, so I just thought I'd pop in and let you know that he has watched it, or he claims he's watched it, but by the looks of it, he really hasn't. And as expected, he just made himself look like a complete ignoramus. Captain Incredulity has done it again. There you go. I think I'll get some t-shirts made up.